Alright, this is the start of a quick DPS guide for Fury Warriors for Paul. Um, I'll start out right here with the glyphs and talents and shit. And then once this fucking 20-30 minute queue finally pops, I'll do some actual footage of it. Um, Glyphs, the only two that are important are Unending Rage, which gives you 20 more max rage, and Glyph with the Executor. That one, killing an enemy with Execute grants you 30 rage. Okay, and for talents, you're going to want to go either Juggernaut or Double Time, whichever one you prefer. They're both decent. Impending Victory, Sudden Death, Stormbolt, Mass Spell Reflection, or Vigilance, whichever one, and Blade Storm. For your 100 tier, it's going to probably be Ravager, although I think Anger Management is pretty decent as well. I just think because it's a passive and every 30 rage you spend reduces the cooldown by 1 second, a little bit sketchy. Alright, for stat priority, you're going to prioritize crit. Crit's the most important. You want to get like fat execute crits and Raging Blow Wild Strike crits. After that, you can probably go, I want to say multi-strike. Multi-strike is probably your best bet right after that. And then mastery. Once you get into PvP, it's going to be crit and then mastery, just because mastery will increase the damage of your executes by a fuck ton, and it'll make it a lot easier to kill those healers. Alright, so real quick, your rotation. I'll talk about it real quick, and then once I get into this queue, I'll actually be able to show you how it works. The main thing you want to know is that you want to try to keep Bloodthirst on cooldown as much as possible. That being said, you prioritize your procs. Now, if you get a Wild Strike proc and a Raging Blow proc at the same time, you're going to want to use one Wild Strike, then the Raging Blow, then another Wild Strike. That's because Wild Strikes stack at 2. Execute procs. You're always going to use Execute every time it's available. It doesn't matter what else is off cooldown. You're going to use Execute. Whether it's off cooldown and you can use it because they're below 20% health, or if you get a proc, you're going to use it immediately. There's nothing else that goes over Execute. Impending Victory, you're going to use that pretty much off cooldown. It depends on the situation. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so I usually just save it in case I need the healing. Now for boss fights, you're going to use your Recklessness when you engage, and that's because it gives you 15% chance to crit and 10% crit damage. And then you're also going to use Stormbolt on bosses. I like to use it as I'm charging in, so I'll charge Stormbolt because you can actually use Stormbolt while you're charging, so it saves you a global cooldown. If it's an AoE fight, you're going to use Blade Storm. Now another thing you want to be paying attention when you're a Fury Warrior is not a lot of people think of it this way, but you actually do have a lot of utility where you can save your team members. You have your Intervene, where you can charge to an ally, intercepting the next melee or ranged attack within 10 seconds. So that can seriously save people if you use it properly. Then you also have your Rallying Cry, which is a sort of a oh shit button, but it works for everyone within 30 yards of you. It gives them more max health. Now you also, if you're using the Mass Spell Reflection talent like I am, another one that you're going to want to have and be able to use. If you're against some sort of spell casters, I know there's a couple of dungeons in Warlords of Draenor where there's casting. There's, which one am I thinking of? There's the Auchendoon, where there's those little fucking imps that cast the Fell Blasts. If you can Mass Spell Reflect those, that helps so much because those fucking Fell Blasts hurt, and if people aren't helping you interrupt, it sucks. So, and then, I mean, the only other thing to mention is the basic shit that you kind of do on every class when you're playing now as DPS. You want to interrupt anytime you can. If you have the ability to interrupt something and it's going to help, fucking do it. Unless there's a fight where there's something specific that you need to interrupt, there's no reason to save it. Just fucking interrupt anything you can interrupt. You also have Die by the Sword, increases your parry chance by 100% and reduces damage taken by 30%. That's pretty good if for whatever reason you take aggro, which we end up doing a lot because Fury Warrior. Fucking 30-minute queue, here we fucking go. I'll just record the first boss fight here so you can see the rotation in action. Alright, here we go, first boss. So when you charge in, make sure you use your Stormbolt on cooldown there. Then you're gonna pop your Recklessness and just start fucking away on it. Using your procs. Watch your rage. I'm at full rage, so I'm gonna use a Wild Strike. Drop Execute on cooldown here. Wild Strike, Raging Blow, Wild Strike, and Execute with the switch to the regular boss. Gonna back up because he's taking it. And it's fucking pretty much that easy, man. Just sit at top DPS. Use this Storm Bolt again on cooldown, popping Wild Strikes, and that's it. And from here, it's just a simple cooldown rotation. We're just going to use it when it comes up. Since I've got nothing here, I'm going to actually Blade Storm. It'll give me more DPS than just sitting here and whacking at him with auto attacks. And then as soon as Blade Storm ends, we're going to execute. That's pretty much it for PvE. I'll upload a PvP one later, but for now, I'm going to go to work. So, that'll do it. 12k. You see most of our damage came from Wild Strike and then our melee attacks. Execute right behind. And then real quick here, I'm going to show you an AoE trash pull so you can see how fucking broken Blade Storm is when you have your crit procs. So I'm going to charge in, get my crit procs. There's two of them that work. And then I'm going to Blade Storm off. Like, that was fucking insane. Insane burst DPS, and all I did was push one button.